father's investment firm, Worthington and Son. Next in line, Richard had decamped to Egypt and become an archaeologist, and Margaret was attending Oxford while furthering the cause of women's issues. I, however, had not settled on any particular interest. The only thing I seemed to excel at was solving murders, and that couldn't be a vocation. After all, one simply could not count on a murder to come along every week. But there were other matters I could investigate. The letters were proof of that. I could become a lady detective. I'm rather good at figuring things out. "That's not an occupation for a lady, Kitty," she huffed. Maybe it should be. She studied me with careful thought. "You're not seriously considering such a thing?" Was my only answer, for I was indeed thinking about it. "Young women of gentle birth do not involve themselves in tawdry matters." "I've already helped solve 2 murders, Mother. Doesn't get much tawdrier than that." Never mind, she only knew the half of what I'd done. If she ever discovered my forays into the seedier side of town, she'd be horrified. "But you had help. Your brother and sister, your friends, and those investigations were conducted for good reasons." "Well, these are good reasons as well." I waved one of the letters at her. "What do you mean?" "For the last 2 weeks, I've been getting requests to look into certain matters. Lost objects, missing persons. I didn't mention the ones that asked me to investigate circumstances involving blackmail or an errant husband, for she would definitely frown on those. It would be beyond the pale for you to become a lady detective. I forbid it." And with that, she returned to her invitations, putting paid to our discussion. I loved my mother, and I honestly sought to follow her wishes, but I was of age, having turned 21 in May, and I had the dowry father had settled on me, so I could carry out such an endeavour, with or without her approval. But the thing of it was, I couldn't simply hang out a shingle. I needed to have some instruction as to how to go on. Books would help. The lending library would almost certainly have some I could borrow, but I would need more than that, ideally personal instruction from someone who'd worked in the field. Maybe a retired inspector who would be willing to tutor me, but how to find one? Inspector Crawford would be of no help, as he would side with Mother on the issue. Chief Inspector Bolton might be more approachable, though. After all, I'd helped him solve a murder which had raised his standing at Scotland Yard. The least he could do was recommend someone. I would write and ask for a recommendation. With any luck, I could have an answer by tomorrow. But before I could act on my decision, my sister Margaret sailed into Mother's personal parlour, wind-blown from the blustery day, and promptly buzzed Mother's cheek. "Hello, dearest." Mother offered my sibling her sweetest smile. "How was the clinic?" A strong advocate of women's issues, Margaret volunteered at a women's health centre, which served those of modest means. As she did not have the medical expertise to treat those who sought its services, she performed the never-ending administrative tasks, which needed doing, as well as engaged in community outreach. "Busy as always. It's all we could do to keep up with the flow of patients." Straightening, she put a hand to her back as if it ached. "Just wish we could do more." "Maybe Kitty could help." I could see the wheels turning in Mother's head. Keep Kitty busy with the women's clinic and she won't think about becoming a lady detective. I don't think I'd be much good, since I faint at the sight of blood. "Thank you for the offer," Margaret said, "but we need money more than volunteers so we can build additional health centres." Unfortunately, the government refused to permit any access to birth control information through government-funded programs. That left the work of family planning to private clinics, such as the one at which Margaret volunteered. Since there was only one in all of London, the demand was much higher than the clinic could meet. "We could hold a fundraiser," I suggested. Excited about the idea, I jumped to my feet. Mother could advise us, since she has a great deal of expertise in that area. She was the chair of the Ladies' Benevolent Society after all, and had planned many an event. "Of course,"